State lost to Clemson over the weekend. You just heard a bucket from Dontrez Styles, which Styles is a bright spot, but it's also a bit of a, okay, so it wasn't the leading scorer thing, because now you have a pretty efficient leading scorer over the last 2 games, and you still did the NC State this season thing, which is, again, under 4 minutes. It's a 2-possession ball game. You're clawing back to make it something, and I mean, anyone watching has the inevitable feeling that there's no other way this game's going to end. You lose by 10. Right? So often, I actually think, like, as sports fans, we lean the other way because we want the greatness. We want the dramatic. People remember comebacks, right? If you're down 12 and suddenly you're down 6, our sports fan, like, we're trained by Disney movies to go, like, here it comes. They're on. Like, we almost think they're favored to win because they've limited the gap. With State, that doesn't happen at all. They cut it to 6 points with like 3 minutes and change, 3 minutes and 40 seconds left, and I'm going, all right, this is where their back muscles tighten. This is where they start to play hero ball. This is where the gap goes from 2 possessions to 5 possessions. And then sure enough, it happens. Like, you don't want to be right in those situations. Kevin Keatts, their head coach, reflected on 2 close losses during the week, and then both ended up being double-digit losses, but that's what's been happening in recent games.
If you look at those 2 games, you say you're right there. You look at them and you say, man, we have gotten better. We just didn't win a few games that could have went the other way earlier. And so if you win those games early and you don't play well against or you play Duke and Clemson the way you do, now you're saying, well, man, they got a chance. That being said, we have been in every game because our heart's always on the line and our guys show up every night. Sometimes it comes to just maybe the other guys has a few more better players than we do, and we just got to keep figuring it out and keep plugging.
6 straight losses now for State. Obviously, Duke is a different beast, and we've talked about it. They're head and shoulders above the ACC this year. But all of the other – and even Duke, I don't know why I'm separating them out. Every single one of those games should have felt gettable in the second half, and they just didn't. We've talked about trust a lot, right? It doesn't always feel like they trust each other in the waning moments, right? If I give it up to you, will you make the pass to get it to the best shot? I don't know, so I might as well put it up. That's the hero ball. Well, if they don't trust each other, why would we trust you? I'll give them one out just momentarily. Could it be the sickness that's passing through the area? Some people may have observed that a little more exhaustion from a team that normally doesn't show that. Maybe, but I'm not going to give them an excuse if they aren't asking for it, right? If you're not bringing it up, I'm not just going to create one out of thin air. Dontrez Styles is scoring. 24 points in that one, 18 the previous game, even with some foul trouble. Knocking down threes. How many times have we said they need to have a consistent shooter? Well, over the last 2 games, he's been that, 6 of 8 in this past game. I guess it's not a leading scorer thing anymore. That was earlier in the year, I was convinced that was it. There were too many guys trying to be the lead efficient scorer, and none of them were really living up to it, and we didn't even know if a leading scorer type player was on the roster. But Styles, at least over the last 2, Duke and now Clemson, which are 2 of the better teams in the ACC, he's been scoring well enough, and the final results, the story didn't change. This has happened to me a few times, like with like a plumbing situation. You're like, oh, I found it. It's this right here. You fix it, keeps leaking. You're like, oh no, that wasn't the problem.
Uh-oh.
It's got to be something else, right? Most of the year, I thought it was the leading scorer thing. They didn't have a dude that was going to score 20 efficiently and make it happen. Now you have a guy that's scoring efficiently, at least over the last couple, and it's still the same result. It's like, ooh, man, turns out that wasn't the source of the leak. We better go back to square one. Frustration is the name of the game for NC State this year. And you don't have, and I don't want to say the bailout, but there was always a fallback in the ACC, which was Everybody makes the ACC tournament. You could always win the ACC tournament and go marching on to the NCAA tournament. So no matter how bad and dreary and sad and frustrating it got, you could always point towards, we just have to be ready when that ACC tournament rolls around. It's not the case anymore. You miss the ACC tournament, you just have a long off season to lick your wounds. And that's becoming a real situation for NC State.
By the way, they are tied for 16th in the ACC out of 18 with Boston College, and they actually host Boston College on Saturday the 15th. So Saturday of next week, they host Boston College in a must-win game just to still possibly not make the ACC tournament.